What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore, and we're here with the Whiskey Wednesday segment. My main man, Mr. Big D.
Hey, buddy.
What's
going on, man?
Hey, we didn't miss this time. Remember a couple of episodes ago, we were like four deep, and we were like, we missed our fist bump.
We're
good.
We're back on track.
We're back on track. So, we're guys, these are those short, sweet, to the point episodes where we're going to dive into some questions that people put in, some things going on in our world, some short-term rental topics, like a little of everything, right? We're kind of diving into a little more questions, it seems like lately, which is fun because it pertains to the topics, which is really good. So,
well, it's like what people want to hear and are kind of curious and what's going on in the industry and stuff like that. So it's good.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. Let's do it.
I was just seeing your cowboy hat, and we had the opportunity the other day. We were at my house, and my son just got back from Argentina, and he brought their cowboy hat back, the Argentina cowboy hat, and it was quite different, you know. I mean,
well, I already said you can't call them cowboys. They had slippers and knit hats. So I'm like, hey, they can't be called cowboys.
We might have an episode where we bring in an Argentine cowboy hat, a little gaucho hat. Right. It looks like more of a European type. Kind of beret.
It looks French. It looks like a French beret.
Yes, exactly. So it's a little different cultures.
Our cowboys would kick those cowboys' butts.
I guess he did say they fight. They knife fight still today.
Yeah, they do. He brought home some knives. He said they knife fight to the death.
Yeah. So even still today. So they're pretty tough guys over there. So I don't know.
Apparently, maybe they'll take us down. That's fun. Let's talk. Okay, let's talk about what's going on in our world. That's kind of a fun topic. Let's. Sam got home off of 2 years on a mission. Yeah. I mean, that's a week ago. Not even a week ago now. That's
not even a week. Yeah, he's still trying to figure things out. He spoke Spanish for 2 years straight, and he came home and he's struggling to find the English words. Which has been fun.
That was fun.
I love it. I try to get him to read and talk. We got something in the mail. 2 letters, one in English, one in Spanish, and I made him read the Spanish one yesterday because I just love hearing him speak Spanish, so that's pretty awesome. So
what the hell? You got your phone going on
right
now? Right in the middle of an episode?
I never bring my phone in
here.
Hey, hold on.
We don't edit these, man. You can't have your phone.
I'm not going to take it
Don't answer it right now. Holy shit. Well, I'm sorry, guys. We're pausing because Dave...
Well, I was expecting... It was a Odyssey guy. He's supposed to call me. I figured I might, want to take the call.
Professional. Real professional. We're on 200 episodes now, and this is what we got to do.
Holy cow. That's a faux pas. Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. Let's keep going.
Anyway. Let's dive into something. This was interesting. This was about a week ago, and obviously we play on all of the social media networks, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and we try to have a good presence out there, and we try to address questions and things that come out, and there was a question on LinkedIn that you had followed up with, and you thought, hey, I'll respond. They were asking for a question within the industry itself, and looking for gurus and people of suggestions, and the question, if I remember right, was, hey, I don't necessarily have my finances in order. I don't have a lot of money. I, kind of struggled and been through some challenges and some issues and things like that. What's the best way or what's the easiest way for me to get in the short-term rental game? And you had a pretty good answer. We thought it was a good answer. We thought, wow, I think this is going to be great. This is what somebody wants to hear. This sounds like what we would want to hear. But there was a little bit of a backlash, and I want to kind of dive into that for a minute.
All right. Let's talk about it. Well, let's see here if I can stay off of my life.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get too excited.
Don't get too saucy about it. Yeah. All right. We'll kind of try to keep it PG for my response here. A little time's gone by, so I've had some time to cool down a little bit. But I gave what I thought was a decent response. First of all, you were kind of nice about, hey, somebody said he literally laid it out like, hey, I have no money, my credit's horrible. I'm jobless, I don't have my shit in order, and I'm not lendable, going through a divorce. It was like a laundry list of things going on in this person's life. And it was posted by somebody else in the industry. First of all, it was a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
And
but it didn't specify that it was hypothetical.
It didn't specify, but it was pretty obvious.
But whether it was hypothetical or not,
same
you
advice.
want
He's saying what advice?
Yes, you
I
want a
haven't
real
found
answer.
a good answer, and he said I haven't found a good answer to. With all these people, all these gurus out there, short-term rentals being as mainstream as they are, there's got to be a way into it without, in my situation.
Yes.
So opening it up for the gurus to come out and tell me your best option, right? And I gave what I would tell somebody in that situation. And that's all they were asking for is what would you do? What would you tell somebody? So I said, and I'm not on LinkedIn very often because I'm not a huge fan of playing hypothetical games all long, right? I want to run a business and do stuff, but it's but one of our Liz came and said, hey, answer this. I think it'd be good for you to throw your opinion out there. A lot of the other trainers, gurus in the industry, whatever you want to call us. I hate the word guru, so I hate calling me that, but or answering it. So go in and answer. And so I went in and said what I would tell somebody. I said, look in the mirror first. First of all, you're in no position to go start a short-term rental business, right? You're not in a position to go do this. And I was saying this on the heels of a whole bunch of other advice of somebody that said, you can do arbitrage, you can do co-hosting, go understand how to syndicate and raise money, and you can get into this with no money down and all these different things. I'll get back to that in a minute because one, I think that's such bullshit advice. But I said, listen, you're not in a good position. You're in the position you're in right now because you don't have your shit together. Because you're not looking in your mirror. And I can tell you this, and I said this. I said I can say this with confidence because I lost everything twice. And I lost everything. And when I didn't look in the mirror and say, until I looked in the mirror and said, this is my fault. Everything that I'm dealing with right now are based on decisions I made, a year ago, 2 years ago, and the actions I took are exactly what I'm getting right now in my life. And you're in the same situation. If you have crappy credit, you don't have any money, you don't have a job, go fix that first. You're in no position to go buy a property and invest in, because you're just going to, your one problem is going to lead to the next, right? Basically, my response to him was, it was nice. I didn't feel like I was
super
rude.
Nice, very professional. Look in the mirror
and say, hey, listen, you gotta roll up your sleeves and get to work, right? Like let's fix the problem, the foundational problem of you first, right? And then start putting some money in the bank. Start developing those habits of, even if you're saving $50 a month, start developing the habit of saving and working toward investing in something besides, what's right in front of you today. Because most likely you're not making, those habits aren't formed, right? You probably are spending your money where you probably shouldn't be spending your money. You're not working hard and providing enough value in a job to continue to keep a job. All those different things, your credit worthiness is bad because you're not paying your bills, right? Those are your responsibility to figure out. And that was what I was saying. Until you do that, and then I said, once you get into the short-term rental game, there's a lot of avenues. Whether it's co-hosting, whether it's arbitrage, whether it's management, whether it's all these different things. The ownership model, I said, is the only one, in my opinion, that the juice is worth the squeeze. And so that's my opinion. All of them can work with enough time and effort and knowledge and that you put into, but that's secondary to fixing your problem you have right now. That was my answer.
So so that was in the evening. We read it. I thought, man, that's great. I think that's great advice. We go to sleep. Come back the next morning and, boy,
dude, I'm talking about.
It hit the fan.
They were throwing darts. Like it was. People were mad about.
Needless to say, it wasn't the response that they were hoping.
They were not hoping for that response, apparently. And the funniest thing to me about it, and this is why I can't stand, for the most part, the coaching guru space, is because most of them were gurus and coaches throwing the darts. And they were the ones saying, how dare you, come out and, like one of them said, if we could only be as good as Shawn. Now, it wasn't even that tone. I didn't even say anything about what I was doing. I said I'd lost everything. The only way I was able to get out and dig out was when I realized that it was my responsibility. I took responsibility for it. So it was, what really got me fired up is that it wasn't coming from the fire that was getting thrown at me, and all that was not coming from people that were in the situation. It was coming from coaches in the industry. It was coming from experts, so-called experts in the industry, which I think is bullshit. Most of them were tech industry experts, which had been in this business for 5 minutes. All they do is sit around a computer and talk about how to make the next software tool. I mean, they don't know anything about the industry, in my opinion. And so it was really interesting how fired up that got people. And I thought, you got to be kidding me right now. And one, I would have wanted to say, and I'll say it right now, is how irresponsible is it to tell somebody to raise money for somebody else and take somebody else's money and go invest it when you can't even manage your own finances? Right. How irresponsible is it to go say, I'm going to take Shawn's property and become a co-host in a game that I've never played? Like, to me, there's a level of responsibility to figure out something before you take somebody else's asset, somebody else's money, and go run down that road. Like, I think that the advice of trying to raise money from somebody else when you don't even know what the hell you're doing on your own to manage your own money, that's super irresponsible in my opinion. And those of you that are out there that are thinking about giving money to somebody else, like I've done it. I've given money to somebody else. I've been in development deals where I've said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be the investor. I'm gonna be the money behind a deal. And they're some of the most expensive lessons I've ever learned. I will never be the money on a deal again. Ever. And because I've found that there's a lot of people out there that are willing to take somebody else's money and invest it when they don't even know what the heck they're doing. They don't have their own money in, all that. So in my opinion, all those other pieces of advice are fairly irresponsible. I don't think that's good advice. And I didn't even say any of that. I was just saying, hey, listen, I think first thing is get your house in order.
Exactly.
Start developing the skill sets and the character traits it takes to invest and start to build and do those things that are necessary for you to continue to move forward. And is it going to take a little bit of time? Yeah. And then the next step I would probably do is go work for somebody. I would go try to work. If this is what I wanted to do, whatever happened to work in an industry before you dove in and started like running your own business or taking somebody else's money or managing something from somebody else? You have to learn somewhere. Well, there's a lot of businesses that will teach you, go work for somebody, add value to somebody's company as an employee, learn the business while you're getting your shit together, and then all of a sudden you're in a position. That doesn't take that long. And so it was super interesting to me, and the responses we got.
If they ask the question, be okay with the responses. Don't ask a question hoping and wanting only 3 answers or an answer that you hope that they'll bring back to you. I mean, can you imagine if you owned a property and somebody came to you and said, hey, I want to co-host, I want to arbitrage, can I lease your property? This is what I'm trying to do. But by the way, I'm bankrupt. I don't have any money. I've really struggled. I can't keep my own stuff together. I'm like, no, come to me with the track record. Show me that you're responsible. Show me that you're good with money and finances and that you've been successful and you tried and worked hard. And I know situations are difficult, but show me that first, then absolutely you can work with my property. But, I mean, it was funny. Oh, man.
I was a little fired up, wasn't I? That day.
I know. But
I came in kind of upset. But I was upset because of who it was coming from.
Yeah.
I felt like you're out there portraying to be an industry expert. The people who were commenting were like really like, they should, in my opinion, know better. And they're asking for an opinion, and you're mad about the opinion?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, and the tone of the opinion was super professional and super responsible. There was nothing in there that was out of line or directed specific to anybody. It was just like, hey, here's one thought or one idea behind this. And it was great. So for them to get offended or upset about that response was it was bonkers.
I mean, well, here's the good news. The good news about that is it shows you where people's heads are at, It shows you, I was just on another podcast this morning, and the question was, hey, what do you feel like the state of the industry is? How the short-term rentals are going, and the state of the industry, and inventory levels are high, and interest rates are high, and prices are high. It's really hard to make money anymore, and people are making less than they made before. And I said, I think that's sad, first of all, because most people are making the excuse that that's why they're not making money is all of those outside factors, But nobody's mentioning the factor that there's more money being spent in short-term rentals than there ever has been. Way more than there was during COVID when everybody was making money. The difference is you have more competition. And so if you don't know the fundamental aspects to rise above your competition and have somebody choose your property above and beyond everybody else's, you're going to struggle. And most people aren't willing to look in the mirror and say, what can I do different to stand out in this crowd, to be better? What are those things, what are those levers I can pull to get more business, to get my unfair share of business? We talk about that all the time. And I wish more people would do that. We talk about it all the time.
Right.
We want people to walk into this with their eyes wide open. We want to see people maximize their portfolios and their assets, obviously. But the fact of the matter is most people aren't. And so it's a great opportunity for those of you that are willing to roll up your sleeves and say, I am going to do what it takes.
Yeah.
Is it always easy? No. Is it going to be hard to set up your property and create a unique experience and develop the skill sets to be able to know how to articulate that experience so somebody chooses your property above and beyond everybody else's? No. But is it worth it? Yeah. Because long term, you're going to make a lot more money, right?
Yeah,
and so the good news, if you're actually taking it serious, and this goes way beyond our industry, right? This goes way beyond the short-term rental game. And we were talking about this about our kids recently. We were saying, hey, listen, I'm really excited for our kids because they're going to be almost playing in a category of one if they come out with great work ethics and they understand how to communicate and articulate and not just stare at a phone all the time.
Yeah.
And because they're gonna create their own, they're gonna create these lives that we don't like. Hopefully, right? That with those skill sets, if they apply them. And they're going to be in a really good position. I feel like when we were younger, everybody worked hard.
Right.
Like I feel like we didn't have the cell phones, we didn't have all those distractions as much.
Yeah.
And
separation season. You know what I mean? You talk about that a lot.
And now I feel like you're just at the top. You're just not competing against that many people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, let's jump into a couple questions. First one, and this is from John. I think John sent this in on our Instagram. How important is it to have some real estate experience when deciding if short-term rentals is a asset class to consider? So, a lot of people have some experience in real estate. Some people just own their own home. So I think that's one question that people have is like, hey, can I do this if I don't have any experience?
Yeah, well, the answer to that is you need some experience, right? It doesn't always have to be your experience, though. That's the great part about, especially in today's economy and the way that the world works, is there are a lot of people, when we were coming up, we had Tony Robbins and Barnes & Noble, right? And some books that you could go read. And that was basically it. And you'd have to kind of figure this all out on your own. Now you've got guys who make a lot of money who are sharing their experience and they're able to, help guide you. And the hard part about that is there's a lot of people that look like they make a lot of money that don't make any money. And they haven't done this very long. And so there's a level of responsibility when you don't have that experience to say, I've got to be able to do my due diligence on the experience that I'm going to leverage. If I'm going to leverage your experience, Dave, and you sound really good on the internet and you sound really good on paper, I have to take a responsibility there and dive into, have you really done what I'm trying to do? What does the real bottom line look like? Like, what are you actually doing? I had somebody that wanted to be on my podcast, and it's somebody that's an influencer in the space. And the one sheet says he has 100% success rate. And immediately I rolled my eyes and thought, what? That is so stupid. Nobody has 100% success rate, first of all. Right. And if you do, it's because you haven't been doing it long enough to have any experience.
Right. You may have 1%.
Absolutely. And so when you are trying to decide, okay, how much experience do I have and whose experience do I want to leverage? Because, I had to leverage experience along the way. Over the years, I've spent a small fortune on mentors and coaching and trying to leverage other people's experience. It's the fastest way to accelerate, right? I'm investing in myself. And Warren Buffett, I think it was Warren Buffett that said, he's never ever the best investment he's ever made, and he's regarded as probably the top investor we've ever had in our lifetimes, is Warren Buffett. And he said the best investment I ever made was in myself, in education and understanding the aim. And a lot of that is education and mentorship, because what you're doing is you're leveraging somebody else's experience, so you don't have to find it. So to John's question is, no, you don't have to have experience. We all do things that we don't have any experience in, but you're either going to pay for that experience typically from somebody that has it, and you have to be really, really careful who you're paying for it from. Make sure they don't have 100% success rate. Nobody's bats 1,000 long term ever. Yep. And so the best in the world don't bat 1,000. I've never batted 1,000. And so you want to have somebody that actually has seen what doesn't work too. right? And so, and that's why because those people can refine the process so they're batting
get better at it.
85, 90%, right? And so, and they get better and better at it. So you don't have to bat 50% or 30% and work that way up. So you're going to pay for it in time and effort on your own side, gain that experience. You got to gain it somewhere, right? Or you're going to say, I'm never going to do it. I'm just going to sit on the sideline forever. I'm never going to do it. But that would mean if you took that attitude, you're not trying anything new, because anything new means you have zero experience. And you're probably going to suck at it. And you probably need a coach. And you probably need to have a path and a blueprint to follow. And so if that's the case, pick the right one. This is where I would say be really, really diligent about who you're choosing to be on your side. Because that's a difficult thing to do right now. It's really difficult. I mean, you go online, everybody looks awesome. I mean, especially now with ChatGPT. Holy crap. I mean, everybody looks awesome. How many of them can go and do a stand up live for 8 hours and be grilled with no script and everything else? Try find somebody that's actually done that. How long have they been in the business? How many bumps in the road have they had to overcome? You can find that stuff out. People will tell you if you ask them. They're gonna tell you. And if they're like, oh man, we've got 100% batting average, we're batting 1,000.
That might be a red flag.
That's one of the first red flags, right?
Good. All right, I like that answer. That's great. So the moral of the story is, you don't have any experience. You have to find somebody that does have the experience that you can learn from.
Absolutely.
And that's super. And do your research. So good. All right. Last question. And we send out a ton of marketing emails, and we really try to dive into, solving people's problems. And so one of our most recent emails that we sent out was, what's the barriers, what's the challenges to you deciding whether you should get into this industry or not? And ultimately, one of them was, there's three of them: time, money, and knowledge. And the second one was money. And the question was, how much money do I need to get into the short-term rental game? And I know that's not a black and white answer, because there's a lot of things. So we don't need to dive into everything, because we could be here for an hour and give an educational course on it. But could somebody get in it with $8,000, or do they need $400,000? I mean, what does that look like? I mean, realistically, where does somebody need to be to get into buying their first property and really understanding this market?
Right. I would say, one, I'm always going to talk about the ownership model. Right. Buying properties. I'm not talking about I'm going to go, sublease a property from somebody and throw some shitty furniture in for a couple grand.
Exactly. And you can get into that.
You can do it.
For super
getting into
cheap.
The short-term rental game, that's a path into it. I don't believe it's worth it long term. We have story after story after story, and people after person after person after person calling us saying, I wish I didn't do this. Right. We're not getting into that today. That's why I'm not a fan of it. The ownership model means you're buying properties, means you're going to have to put money into a property. You're investing into a property, right? Usually when we're talking to somebody and they're like, how much do I need? It all depends on where you're buying and the acquisition cost and the financing terms and everything else. Let's assume you're going to get some sort of loan on the property, right? And I would say that we're going to get a loan on the property. Let's say you're getting a 10 to 20% down loan, and let's say you're finding a cheaper market that you can get into for $200,000 or $300,000. Those still exist. We see them all the time. And so if I have to do that, I always have to think of three things of what I'm going to be doing. So in your head, as you're thinking about this, the money that it takes to get in, you need three things. And so you can say, I'm buying a $200,000 property, I'm going to figure that number out from there, or I'm buying $1 million property, I'm going to figure that number out from there. So when you need, how much is your down payment on the financing side, right? So it's going to be, between 10 and 20, 25%, depending on what type of loan product you get, right? And so let's say it's a $200,000 loan and you're going to get a 10% down second home loan. You need 20 grand there, right? So there's 20,000. Then I need to furnish and set up the property. The furnishings and setup, I would just, as a quick, easy, down and dirty math, plan on about 10% of your acquisition to set a property up. So there's another 20 grand. Right. So I've got 40 grand into this $200,000 property, because now I need to buy the furniture. I need to set it up. You can also get a little bit more specific with it and take about $30 to $35 a square foot to do it correctly and do it right. And so you can figure out that number. The third thing is you're going to have some holding costs. You're going to have to get this property operational. And so it's going to take some time to build up that revenue that you're hoping to make on this property and start to build up, some momentum in bookings. And so you're going to have 3 to 6 months worth of mortgage expenses and property expenses that you can kind of float until you get until things start moving, right? And so that's a conservative approach to figure out, okay, so let's say I need another 10 grand to get that through, right? Let's say my mortgage payment's $1,500 a month and I'm going to get 6 months worth, right? Ish. And so I've got 50 grand to buy that $200,000 property in that scenario. But take whatever market you're looking at, look for the average price, the acquisition price in that market. Now, again, there are a lot of other avenues. You could do some creative financing, some seller type financing. You can find different ways to get into the game besides just going and getting a loan. But let's assume most people are getting a loan because that's typically the route for long-term ownership.
Yeah. Dude, that was one of the best detailed answers I think you've given.
And it was short. You were trying to
Good job.
Get me going for an hour.
We're done.
We're done. That's it.
That's like drop the mic type answer. I love that. Good job. Okay. So that's it for today. Great job.
All right. We'll wrap it up, guys. We always appreciate you spending your time with us. We love doing these episodes and these podcasts. Hoping to help people walk into this game with their eyes wide open. If you got any value out of this, we don't do any sponsorships or ads or anything to help promote these shows. The only way these grow is if you guys share it. And so if you know somebody else that would like to be a part of these conversations, share the show. Those things really do help us. If you have more than 30 seconds, like it or leave us a review on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Those things really help us grow the show and continue to spread the message and help people in the short-term rental game. And you guys, if you've ever listened to more than one episode, I say this every time, don't I, Dave? The very final thing and the biggest challenge, the most important thing I ask you at the end of every episode is pick that one thing you can do today, start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends.
Cheers,
brother.